So we continue with the tape group with Joel's tapes and inspiration coming from his words. By today, specifically from this tape, we use everything from this tape. We listen to half an hour of it, and we have a meditation coming up. All right, well, here we are. Seeking the kingdom is really today's topic. Seeking the kingdom is the first response to, in fact, everything. There's a lot going on in my mind, in your mind, in the world, but we're not of this world. So it's a matter of we're aligning to what lies beyond this world, and that's we seek the kingdom right now. So that is, like I said, the first response to everything. Seek first the kingdom. So seeking the kingdom is the title, and that's also like a beautiful inspiration to come into the practice of what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean in the practicality of every day? How does that work out? How do you do that in that sense, or how can you be aware of it during your day? How can you train yourself to be more present right here, right now, than losing yourself in this world? That is an essential part of our spiritual training, of course, seeking first the kingdom. So there's a lot of things that you have to let be undone, or let yourself be undone, or that you have to let go of before that becomes your practice. Because your investments in this world are really so-called keeping you from seeking first the kingdom. Your first response to situations might be that you try to solve the situation, at the same time making the mesmerism that you just perceive a reality to you. This is very common in the human action of mind. And so, like I said, there's an invitation to train ourselves to seek first the kingdom, and to let go of what isn't related to the kingdom, to let go of our perception of what we think is real, of what we think is going on, of what we think is disturbing our peace, or what all these things. Like Joel is pretty clear about that in this tape too. So that's something that we certainly use. So in the meditation you'll see we practice that right away, because that's more important than anything else at this point. Because what are we doing here? We're like having a human experience, but that's not all of it. We recognize that there's more, and that we want to connect with that what we truly are. So you can say at the very bottom of all of this is, in fact, you want to come to know who you are. Because up to the moment that you know who you are, you will not be able to communicate, to actually be present in a constructive or supportive, or in a way that you extend the kingdom. So you have to come to know who you are, and how are you going to do that? So Joel uses the idea of meditation almost always as a way to come into contact with God. And this is great, because that is the way to do it, like to become still and receptive and to start to listen. Now this goes a bit further, because it is like in this practice of meditation you can really wonder, what is meditation? Is it so that you have to sit down for it? Do you have to close your eyes for it? Do you have to, or are there different ways of doing this? In our practice, you might have discovered too, it's like there are different ways of meditation. I can basically meditate all day long, staying in the release of my ideas about this world, staying in the constant release of this world. In fact, my mind is in meditation. I can still do things, but it doesn't disturb it. Because in the center of my being, there's the recognition and the alignment with that what is. And I don't have to do that. So it's more like you return back to the I amness. This is what you are. It is not a doing. Now this constant release of mind, of ideas, is necessary, because Joel will tell you in the meditation too, is like as soon as still human mind is still involved, is still in the picture, so to speak, that cannot happen. So the release of those ideas, the release of the mind activity, the release of the investment of what the mind points out as is important, as is necessary, or as is needed, basically, or desired, all of that you will have to release in order to come into communication. In a practical sense, say like, okay, so do I need to walk around the whole day then practicing my meditation? It's like, well, you have to see it like this. It's like in my release of the investment of my mind in things, like if I come into the constant release of that, then my mind is meditation. Then I become meditation. I'm at peace. No matter where I am, no matter what seems to be happening, no matter what the occurrences seem to be, that doesn't matter. And this is a practice that you can learn. Like there's basically no other way to come into the flow of spirit than by doing that. Because then suddenly, when you release your ideas, you discover that you become receptive to a whole different light and love that is available to you, that is the essence of your being. So that recognition and integration into your daily affairs and into your daily presence, really, not so much in your affairs, but in your daily presence, is like that changes everything. Yeah, I love that. I love it so much to share the discovery of that, because it's like that is continuous. During my day, this is what I do. And this is what you learn to do. You see that otherwise it would make no sense first what you're doing or what you're thinking. And so that's why this is so amazing as a discovery of coming to know who you are. Seeking the kingdom first, no matter what. First taking time to seek first the kingdom, to be willing to release your mind of all ideas that were occupying your mind for a moment, in order to come to the love that you are, to feel that love, to let it literally come into experience for you, because you paused. You say, no, this cannot be it. There's an alternative here. I go for that. I receive that right here, right now. And that's where the healing takes place, and that's happening right now. That's like literally as we speak. Like, this is an invitation to you to join me in that, and you do that. Like the part that recognizes this is doing that. So that's so beautiful. So it's always a shared experience. It is never, I can do it and you cannot do it, or something, or I can do something that you can't do. No, if I can do it, you can certainly do it, because we're one. And this communication that we're inviting is already given to us. Where two or more are gathered, I'm there. Jesus says, it's like, no, I'm present right here, because you literally come together to say, come in touch, or allow this Christ mind to open up as a full conscious experience within your awareness. This is the healing that takes place, and that we're inviting wholeheartedly in this instant, because there's an urgency for that. There's a total urgency for that. You don't want to get lost in this world. Look at it. You don't want to be threatened by a world. You don't want to make this world a place that looks like horror and terror and all this. Like, obviously, you're not of this world, because that conflict that you experience not by accident. No, that's because you're not from here. You don't recognize that as the love that you are. That's why this is so important. Like, release every thought about it. Release your thoughts about your neighbors, about the citizens of your country, about this, about that, about the occurrences that seem to be going on. And release your mind. Release these ideas for just this moment, to have a relief moment in which you can feel the love of God, in which you can feel the peace that is right here, present with you. So if you're too busy, then you don't experience it. So you've heard this many times, but it's lovely, because in fact, while I'm saying it, I come into the experience of it. By you sharing this, by you extending this, you come into the experience yourself. That is so powerful, because then you experience it as a real thing. Otherwise it will still be concepts and just beautiful ideas and future music, so to speak, like something, oh yeah, hopefully that will happen one day. Like, no, this is given to you right here, right now. So this is exactly what we're practicing with the meditation. One truth, and I am that truth. There is but one truth, and I am that truth. There is resurrection, and I am the resurrection. Let your concepts of God die. Let your concepts of healing die. Let your concepts of truth die. Drop the concepts. Every concept of truth you have ever entertained, or any you may ever be tempted to entertain, must die, must be dropped, until you have no concept of truth whatsoever. All that God is embodied in the I that I am. This I that I am is the creator of the universe, the spiritual universe. No man has ever looked with his eyes upon the kingdom of God, the creation of God. What you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell is but a finite concept of that which is there. I am invisible to you until you rise above mind and thought into the domain of your spiritual consciousness. You will behold me as I am, the Christ of God. Spiritual healing is embodied in that capacity, not in trying to heal anyone. Never try to pray for anyone's healing. Never try to improve anyone. Why? Because with your God-given spiritual faculties, you behold the Christ where a human being seems to be.
Une seule vérité, et je suis cette vérité. Il n'y a qu'une seule vérité, et je suis cette vérité. Il y a résurrection, et je suis la résurrection. Que vos conceptions de Dieu meurent, que vos conceptions de guérison meurent, que vos conceptions de vérité meurent. Abandonnez ces conceptions. Toute conception de vérité que vous avez jamais entretenue, ou toute conception que vous pourriez être tenté d'entretenir, doit mourir, doit être abandonnée, jusqu'à ce qu'il ne vous reste plus aucune conception de vérité. Tout ce que Dieu est incarné dans le que je suis. Ce que je suis est le créateur de l'univers spirituel. Nul homme n'a jamais contemplé de ses yeux le royaume de Dieu, la création de Dieu. Ce que vous voyez, entendez, goûtez, touchez et sentez n'est qu'une conception finie de ce qui est. Je vous suis invisible jusqu'à ce que vous étiez au-dessus du mental et de la pensée pour atteindre le domaine de votre conscience spirituelle. Alors, vous me verrez tel que je suis, le Christ de Dieu.
Thank you. Thank you for being still with me and to be present with me, because that's basically what it comes down to in our meditation, in our stillness. Like, how can you be present right here, right now, if you're distracted by your thoughts about everything, everywhere, and like that would be impossible. So this is centering us here, right now. And we need you here. Like, you need to be present right here. For a different experience, you need to be present. But also then, like, first of all, you have to be present here in also in what you feel. With meditation, you start to feel what is going on within you. And that is essential. Like, you have to pay attention to the occurrences in your whole beingness. Like, what is happening here? Okay, so I'm feeling that too. At the same time, I'm feeling what I'm going through, or what is happening, what seems to be happening, and the effect it seems to have on me. Like, I have to allow that to be there, and in fact relax into that. Why is that so important? Because basically you only have your own experience. Joel is not asking you to get out of your experience. No, this all starts with you taking what you feel serious, in the sense of feeling it, giving space to feel it and be with it, and allow that to be there. So from there on, there are possibilities, you could say. But if you're not even present in how you feel about yourself, how you feel about what is going on, like literally just taking a look at your withinness, like, that is an essential part. You don't stick there, you don't stay there, but you feel it first. Okay, now you're ready for the next phase. You're feeling that. Now you slide right through it into a deeper layer of yourself within you, and there suddenly you experience the quiet that you thought really was lost, but suddenly by you just allowing your feelings to be there, not doing anything with them, but allowing them to pass through your awareness, going deeper, allowing yourself to sink in deeper into your withinness, and coming closer and closer and closer to feeling the peace and the quiet and stillness that is within you, and going deeper into that, as deep as you want. Like, it's literally endless. You can completely disappear into it, which would be very natural as an experience. So you see, like, we start with your experience, because that is the beginning. If you don't allow your feelings, then you stay on the surface. You allow your feelings to be there, to go through they move through your awareness. You have a possibility to sink deeper to the next phase, you could say, of the next stage of your meditation, a deeper place inside yourself, where gratitude starts to kick in, where grace suddenly is present, where it literally flows into your consciousness. So then with the first glimpse you can say, like, oh my God, that is true. And then go back into your daily affairs. But you can also sink deeper into it and take time to reside in your withinness. This is really what seeking the kingdom is. You allow yourself to go within, deeply, deeply. Allow everything to be there, sinking through that what you are feeling, sinking deeper into that, just below that, you could say. Coming into your stillness, coming in touch with the grace that is present in you, that suddenly resolves all your activity of mind, and seeing that, oh wow, there was just something to keep myself busy with. So here we are. Okay, so I want to express a couple of things that Joel is sharing in the video. So there's a point, Joel says, there's a point that we must now clear up, upon which the entire secret of life depends. And that is, the understanding of the secret of life depends upon this point. The Master said, my kingdom is not of this world. So that's a point that we have to clear up. That's literally true. It's like that point needs to be cleared up. That means that everything else needs to be cleared up, but my kingdom is not of this world. So every investment in this world, is basically in a way for you to recognize that your kingdom is within you. Now, first of all, what did he mean by this world? And what did he mean by my kingdom? Well, Joel says, my kingdom is the object of your search. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, my kingdom. So you are not going to know the nature of my kingdom until in your meditation you eventually arise above words and thoughts and perceive with your transcendental faculties, your spiritual faculties, your spiritual discernment. When Joel says spiritual discernment, it is really like the spiritual experience, the experience of connectedness, of oneness, of this beautiful communion that is within you. So I read that again. So you're not going to know the nature of my kingdom until in your meditation, which can happen all day long because it just depends on moving, rising above the words, or moving through, like releasing the words and thoughts and perceive with transcendental faculties, your spiritual faculties, your spiritual discernment. Then you will get to know the nature of my kingdom. And the nature of my kingdom, that's an interesting word too, like the nature. Joel uses a lot of the nature. And you can say like, what is that? What is that? The nature of things. Like, what is the nature of things? Like the natural characteristics of it. It's like, yeah, that is a bit like that, yeah. So it's the nature, you could say, as an analogy, or it is like the sun shines light. Like the nature of the sun is to shine. And this is, of course, the same with you. The nature of your beingness is to shine, to radiate, to extend light, because that's what you are. So if you can say like that's the nature of your beingness, so that's not the nature of human man. He's not always shining his light. He's doing all kinds of things, but basically mostly not shining his light. So the nature of humanness, of being a mortal, is avoiding to die, fighting not to die, comparing, competing, so that you be the one that survives. Or that's just an example, but that's one thing that a human being does, like right in his own nature. He does that. He's protecting himself. He sees himself as a separate entity, and he behaves like one too. So this is amazing, isn't it? That like you might not always be aware of it, but the nature of a human being is to protect oneself, to separate yourself off in order for your own safety, is what you think. So these thoughts are totally contrary to the nature of your beingness. The nature of your beingness is all-inclusive, is inviting everything in, is extending its light, because the nature of it is to shine, to extend the love that it is, to be co-creator in the kingdom, not to do anything else. Not having a little own kingdom where it reigns as an insane dictator or an insane who knows what. Like the nature of a human being does know about duality. It works with it. It sees everything like that. Otherwise you couldn't use your eyes. Your eyes only sees differences because it sees different forms, for one thing. It sees dark and light. It sees all kinds of things. But the nature of your beingness doesn't see differences. It sees as whole, as wholeness as itself. It recognizes in everything itself. It doesn't distantiate. It doesn't separate itself off. Now this is the extension of the kingdom in your beingness, in your presence here too. In your meditation, suddenly you recognize, I'm so grateful, but there was really no reason for it. It just happened. So yeah, that's always so exciting to talk about and to realize that's the true nature of your being. And that has nothing to do with the nature of the human being. In my meditations, Joel says, it was revealed to me that the kingdom of God is not a power. That in the kingdom of God there are no powers. That what is called spiritual power isn't a power at all. And the reason for it is that in the kingdom there is neither good nor evil. Like there's nothing to protect, there's nothing to use power against or for. There's nothing to attain, there's nothing to overcome. There's nothing to be overcome. Therefore, there's nothing to be attained. The kingdom of God is a state of a state of being. Then in I live and move and have my being in a state of being. I don't need any God powers. I don't need any powers. In the kingdom of God, there's no need for powers. In the kingdom of God, He is too pure to behold iniquity. Therefore it was revealed to me that in my kingdom there is neither reward nor punishment. Since I and my Father are one, I can't be other than the Father. I can't be good. I can't be bad. I cannot change from bad to good. I cannot sink from good to bad. Because in the kingdom of God there's infinite, divine, eternal isness. Isness of divine being or spiritual selfhood. This world has a male and a female. This world has a male and a female that can be alive or dead, good or bad, rich or poor, sick or well. But my kingdom has only the Christ of God, the Son of God, and I can't see that with my eyes any more than you can. With my eyes I see as you appear to be made by mortal sense. Do you see? But with spiritual discernment, in my spiritual experience, I know thee, who thou art, the Holy One of Israel. Oh yeah, this is what Joel shares here. It's like he sums it up. It's like in the kingdom of God there are no differences. Now, see, here's the work in that sense. There's the work to do for us. As soon as you see that you're actually, perceiving and judging after appearances, you have to become aware of a red flag that is right there. It's like, wait a minute, this is the place where this is slippery ice, so to speak. You're not gonna go there. Like, no, it's just turn around. There's no difference. There's no reason to judge anything. What would be the basis of you to judge by? You cannot do that. Like literally, it's impossible to judge because none of the opposites are real. It is not God created, so it cannot be real. That means there's an alternative available for you in your spiritual discernment, in your spiritual experience, in your and how you feel about yourself. There's a possibility to come in touch with that what is within, and that what is within is like the reality of your beingness, is your kingdom. So that's not a place, of course, that's a state of mind. That means your mind is completely open to receive that. And not only that, but also it is open, so your soul light, you could say, radiates right through it, right through you. It extends naturally just by you, as you know yourself, are getting out of the way of that. Getting out of the way in the sense of, let these concepts die, let God die, the God that you have made, let it die. That is not God. What you think healing is not healing. What you think this is not what it looks like. No. You're wrong about all of that. So you have no comparison to make. You have nothing to judge, because like we said in the beginning, like the origin of this is getting to know who you truly are. And you don't know that in your human comparisons. You forget that in your human competition. You forget that by replacing truth by illusions. You forget about that. You see differences. You're caught in, literally, you're caught in this world. You're imprisoned in this world. You release that. You're free to flow back into your experience, your spiritual discernment of the reality of who you are. So this is a constant process, and it's not like, okay, you turn the switch and now I do this forever. No, it is, even though you have great experiences with it, it still is like you're being invited to do this, to practice this all the time. You can keep your mind in a constant state of release, not holding on to anything. That's a very great way to do it. Letting go, letting go. I don't know. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know how to respond to this situation. I don't know what to think about that. I don't want to give you advice about anything, because I wouldn't know what to tell you. Like, literally, I'm the embodiment of something else. There's something else I cannot describe, but I can join with you in it. You can recognize it. When you are in meditation, you will recognize me as the Christ of God. That's what Joel says, but that's the reality of this. It's like, no, we haven't met yet. No, you don't see me. Whether the internet is slow or not, or whether everything seems to be disturbed for a moment, you still don't see me. When it's clear image, you still don't see me. This is not what I am. So the I amness is connected with your withinness and is present here all the time. Now that, literally connecting with that, will set you free of every concern that you held on to for a moment. Now you have released it. Suddenly you come into such an incredible experience of gratitude, because you're so happy to forgive this, to let this be, to let this go, and allow the truth to come into your heart and into your soul, like a remembrance of this comes into your awareness and fully takes over if you allow that to happen. So that is the practice that Joel is talking about, and you're invited to step right into that. That is the essence of what Joel is sharing here, but also this is what I wanted to share in relationship with the idea of seeking the kingdom, only seeking the kingdom. And that by keeping that very clear in your mind, by having that practice well, by integrating that into your beingness, literally into your daily practice, you see that that is the easiest. That is the easiest. Then there's no disruption of that. That's your certainty. You cannot be drawn into this world in that sense anymore if there's no thought that you invest in order to make something happen that you don't want. All right, so we continue with listening to Joel in the tape 551b, this world, my kingdom, and vice versa, probably. So this is the second part that we're listening to.
Your spiritual faculties are awakened, even though Pharaoh's army is behind you and the Red Sea in front of you. A cloud will appear by day and a pillar of fire by night to protect you. When your spiritual faculties are awakened, in the midst of famine, you will multiply loaves and fishes, or you will witness loaves and fishes being multiplied. You will not multiply them, but this spiritual awareness will. For where I am, God is. And that means the grace of God, the presence of God. The grace of God, or the presence of God, does not act as a power over evil or negative conditions. The presence of God, the grace of God, acts as a power of revelation, revealing divine harmony where material sense was finding discord, lack, and limitation. In other words, in the whole kingdom of God, there is no power over error. But the kingdom of power is a power of revelation. And when you are in the kingdom of God, the power of revelation reveals God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Not as a future event, as an event taking place now in the presence of God consciousness. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is fulfillment, there is liberty, there is freedom, there is harmony, there is health, there is wholeness, there is immortality, there is eternality. Not because God does something to error any more than light does anything to darkness. Light doesn't do anything to darkness. There is no darkness where light is. Therefore, darkness is the absence of light. Then discord, inharmony, sin, disease, death, lack, and limitation. This is only the absence of God consciousness. Not an absence of God because God fills all space, but an absence of God consciousness. And so we never attain God, we attain God consciousness. God is here where I am. But you see, the great secret revealed in the message of the infinite way is God is only where God is realized. That is, God is functioning only where God is realized. Therefore, if we were a group of people without God consciousness, any kind of sin, disease, or death could happen right here in this room. And there's nothing in the world to stop it. Let one of us attain God consciousness, and there can happen no sin, disease, death, or lack of limitation. That is why a spiritually realized individual is a law of healing. Not because they heal, but because in their presence they reveal divine harmony. They do not change human sickness to human health. We do not do that in our mystical teaching. No, we are the light, and where the light is, there is no darkness. We are life, and where life is, there is no death. We are the functioning of the grace of God. Where the grace of God is, there is a sufficiency of all needful things. So you see, if I am the light, there is no darkness where I am. If I am life eternal, there is no death where I am. But do not believe for a minute that by having some fanciful concept of God, that this is going to change evil into good or do anything for you. That kind of a God must die within you until you know that where I am, God is. And where God is, there is fulfillment. Since God is life, there is the fulfillment of life, and there is no death. God is infinite supply. In the presence of God, there is no lack. of any needful thing. God is immortality, and where the presence of God is, there cannot be a finite life, a limited life. Therefore, in the moment that you perceive me as I am, it would make no difference where you are in the world. If you lift your thought to me, harmony will immediately appear, because I am omnipresent. Just as omnipresent in Asia, Africa, or Europe as in the United States. When you have proven this, you will likewise prove that this is the truth of you, for there is only one I am. And therefore, those who reach out to you from any part of this globe, and probably even from the other side of the veil, those who reach out to you will immediately find their freedom. Because in the presence of I am, there is neither past nor present. There is only isness. And the perfection of isness and the isness of perfection. Then, because of this, you learn, do not judge after appearances, judge righteous judgment. So now, if you see a beautiful day out there and beautiful trees and beautiful flowers, do not judge of that and say it is beautiful. And if you see the heavy storm whipping through there and tearing it to shreds, do not say it is awful. Do not judge after appearances, but go within your own self and see through your spiritual vision. And then there will never be anything out there but spiritual perfection, spiritual harmony. And if, because of universal belief in this era, storms do arise, they will quickly be stilled. Do not forget that storms arose on the Sea of Galilee, and the presence of Jesus stilled them. Why? Because Jesus had risen above human consciousness into the realization of his true identity as I. And therefore he could let I say through him, peace, be still. Probably, if we had been there, we would have discovered that he didn't say, peace, be still. He really said, I say to you, peace, be still. I say unto you, rise, pick up your bed and walk. I say unto you, thy sins be forgiven thee. He probably prefaced everything he said with, I say unto you. Well, if your ears are dull and gross, you'll think Jesus said that, or Joel said that, or Isaiah said that, or... No, it was said through them, by I. I said it through Jesus and Isaiah and Moses. Moses didn't say to the rock, water come forth. He said, I say, water come forth. See the difference? One is making a miracle man of somebody, and the other is recognizing him as a transparency for the I that exists at the center of every individual awaiting recognition, acknowledgement, identification. You know, if I had the power to heal anyone, that I couldn't be content unless I healed everyone. I don't have that power. But everyone has the power to be healed by their right identification of me. They bring healing to themselves. In other words, again, the way the Master voiced it was, thy faith hath made thee whole. I don't know in what way he used the word faith. Probably the word faith in Aramaic, or as he meant it, had a different meaning than faith, because the kind of faith we mean won't heal anybody of anything. But discernment will. If you discern me as I am, you will be healed by your discernment, by thy faith, by thy recognition. Thy recognition hath made thee whole. Therefore, when the woman taken in adultery turns to Jesus, it isn't because he was a Hebrew rabbi. There were thousands of Hebrew rabbis. Why didn't she turn to some of the others? She recognized the Christ. And her recognition of the Christ set her free, gave her her forgiveness, her wholeness, her completeness. The thief on the cross, he paid no attention to the fact that Jesus was also on the cross. He beheld the Christ. He discerned it. And in his recognition of it, I could say, I will take you with me into paradise this very night. I could say through Jesus. That is why everyone isn't healed. They are still looking to a God to heal them, or they are looking to a miracle man, but still seeing him as a man. I am not a man. I do not occupy space or time. I am the consciousness, the creator of this universe. If you behold that in me, the next step will be when you realize that Joel says that he hasn't got an exclusive on it, a patent or a copyright. Therefore, I have really identified myself. Then you will be able to go and do likewise. Because there is but one I, which I am. And I am me, and I am thee. I am that I am. That I am of you, I am. I am that I am. That I am. That I am. I am that. Now remember, what I behold with my eyes sitting over there and out there, that is but the illusory sense created by the five physical senses. And because if I look too keenly at what I see, I lose it all. I lose it all. That is why Darwin lost the secret of life. Darwin lost the entire secret of life because he traveled all around the world looking at specimens and objects, hoping to find the secret in them. He could just as well have stayed home and lifted up one plant, one flower, one tree, one stone, one piece of gold or silver or pearl out of the sea. and discovered what he was looking for. But he couldn't ever discover it even going around the world, because he was trying to find it in objects. And he was trying to find it by a reasoning process of the mind. You see, that has fooled every philosopher. Every philosopher. Hegel, Marx, the Hebrew philosophers, Christian philosophers, they've all been fooled. Because they all believed that truth could be found through the mind, through reason. And it isn't there. Truth can only be discerned through the developed spiritual faculties, and they can only be developed through silence. Every statement of truth you ponder must end in, "Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth," and then waiting for anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute or 2 or 3. Oh, eventually, of its own accord, that may be 5, 10, 15 minutes. In fact, there's no limit to it, as long as it grows of its own accord and not forced. Because it is in that silence that revelation comes, not necessarily while you're meditating. Oh no, you may meditate only for 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, and apparently you may not receive any revelation. But then you'll fall asleep at night, and it will come. Or you'll be in your bath, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it will come. Or you may be listening to music, and your mind will be off of this world, and all of a sudden it'll come. It won't come while you're listening to any music that'll arouse your emotions. It's got to be music. Now, it can come while you're just sitting watching your garden grow. A sunrise, a sunset, quiet on the desert, under the stars in the desert. But it won't come unless there's been sufficient meditation behind you as to have opened the channels, the spiritual faculty. It is the listening ear that develops the inner spiritual faculties of awareness, spiritual awareness. And as these are developed, then out of the blue, revelation comes in. Well, I was sitting at a desk while still engaged in a teaching that had mind as a synonym for God, when the voice said to me, "Mind is not God." It shocked me. I nearly fell off of the chair. Mind is not God. The whole essence of the teaching was that mind is God. And here it is, the voice says mind is not God. Then came more periods of meditation, and the answer unfolded. Why, certainly. Mind is what you think with, so you can think good thoughts or bad thoughts. Mind is an instrument of me. I've got to be greater than mind. How can mind be God? Mind can be the source of good. Mind can be the source of evil. Mind is an instrument. Well, when I first told that to the metaphysicians, it's a lucky thing we're past the day of crucifixion, because I could have been crucified. But it is the truth. Now, I didn't learn that mind is not God by reading books, because the infinite way is the only message on earth that says that mind is not God. Emerson says mind is God. The Orient says mind is God. Metaphysics says mind is God. I know it isn't, because I know that I am greater than mind. I know I am greater than thoughts, because I can think thoughts. If thought is power, think how much greater than thought I am. When I can make thoughts, create thoughts, empower thoughts, I must be greater than thought. I must be greater than the mind I think with. Because I put into the mind the very thoughts it thinks. And it wasn't long after that till I was led back to the revelation, the only God there is, I am. I am is the only God there is. So, you see now what is meant by this world? This world is the world of concepts. The world that is sometimes good and sometimes bad, sometimes alive and sometimes dead, sometimes at peace, sometimes at war, sometimes beautiful, and sometimes ugly. That is this world. It's a world of concepts. But my kingdom is the earth and the fullness thereof, which is the Lord's, and which I can only know through inner spiritual discernment. Do you see? This world has a male and a female. And this world has a male and a female that can be alive or dead or good or bad or rich or poor or sick or well. But my kingdom has only the Christ of God, the Son of God. And I can't see that with my eyes any more than you can. With my eyes, I see you as you appear to be made by mortal sense. Do you see? But with spiritual discernment, I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of Israel. You know, too many metaphysicians walk around saying, oh, you are spiritual. Oh, you are the child of God. And then you wonder why nothing happens to you after they've made that beautiful statement. Too many practitioners voice that to their patients. Too many teachers voice it to their students. And then wonder why they're the same the next day they were the day before. And the reason is, they don't know that at all. They've merely read it, memorized it, and quoted it. And it all took place up here in the mind. See that? And that's not power. Whether they said it to you or thought it about you, it still had no power. When they retire into the secret sanctuary within themselves, and you are revealed to them as the child of God, be assured you're healed. Some change takes place in lifting you in consciousness. Now, that word, or that statement, you are healed, don't misunderstand it. It doesn't always mean because you said, I have corns, that instantly the corns disappear. It doesn't mean because you say, I have a headache, that immediately the headache will disappear. That's not the healing. What it means is that you are lifted higher in consciousness than you were before. And some healing of some nature, some measure, some degree has taken place within you. Whether or not it is the particular error that at the moment you're thinking of, that it may not be. Sometimes the very fact that you've thought about it has prevented that particular healing. And you wonder, something else got healed, but not this. Sure, I was holding this, waiting to have this nothingness removed. And it only existed in my mind, and I held it there. Whereas the other thing that I thought was minor or that I didn't even know about, that happened to a marked degree with a student who had come to me for healing work. And the healing took quite a while. But some occasion came up later where an x-ray was necessary in that man's experience, and he was told of 3 very serious things he'd been healed of inside. The healing marks were all there, and he didn't know he was ever sick of. See that? So all the time he was being healed, supposedly, of the thing he had in mind, he was actually being healed of something far more serious and far more dangerous to human sense. So it is. In any moment that you have an inner revelation or realization about anyone who has turned to you for help, they've had a healing. Whether it's the healing of the very thing that they asked for, I don't know. Because I can go back into an experience where I was asked for help, and look how differently the healing has taken place than what you had in mind at that particular time. If you remember it. The healing of an entirely different nature. A whole new life opened. A whole new life. Which wasn't what you had in mind. Do you follow that? In other words, we do not get our way when we go to God. But we have God's way revealed to us. And sometimes that's very different than what we had expected. But you must admit that that's a real healing. That's a real healing. Not necessarily that we have our way, but that we expose ourselves to God's way. And then find harmony coming very often in a different form than we had in mind at the time. So, if all those who come to us were healed in the way that they want, we would never have anybody on the spiritual path, because they only come for a physical, mental, moral, or financial release, and then believe that they're going to be allowed to go right back to their, well, now I'm well. But you see, what happens is when they're healed of material living. They're healed of a material sense of health. They're healed of a material sense of supply. Then they become spiritual teachers. So let this make it very clear, the difference between my kingdom, in which I discover that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, but it's a spiritual universe, only evident through spiritual discernment. And this world, which is a world completely of material sense, of which there is an underlying reality, which is the kingdom of God. Thank you.
All right, Joel, thank you for sharing with us about my kingdom, seeking my kingdom. So that was a lovely talk to listen to and to be inspired by. And it all comes down, in a certain sense, it comes down to the practice of all this. So you can hear many beautiful words, but that doesn't mean that you apply it. So this integrative part is essential. And that starts also with what you say, what you do, and what you think. You let that become one thing. Like there's an integration that is necessary. You can say that you want this, but then you have to practice it. And then you have to allow that to take the first place And you step back then to allow that to be shown to you, whatever needs to be shown to you, whatever you need to experience, in the sense of, okay, I know in this situation, I know what I would do, but now I'm literally going within and asking, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to respond to this? And then I become still and receptive, and I listen. So beautiful, beautiful practice, what Joel shares with us. So this was the episode for now. We have some music coming up. I hope to see you next week. Thank you for everything, and see you soon. Thank you.